What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Snipe Life podcast. Today's going to be a little bit different. We had to do a quicker setup today, but I've got some interesting stuff because I've been looking at the forbidden TikToks. There's a lot of weird Christians on TikTok, and if you don't know, TikTok is an app where you basically post short form vertical video. Short form vertical video. And so there's a lot of Christians on here that are trying to get clout or trying to build their brand or whatever through TikTok. And so I decided
I had no
I was going to try to collect some of these weird, interesting takes on Christianity. And we're going to have a discussion about it today. So it's going to be a little bit different than our normal podcast, but I hope you guys still enjoy it. So let us know how you guys are doing in the comments below. And let's just get right into the news. All right. You got to scoot over a little bit.
Oh.
You see that? Sick. All right. So here we go. Ready?
I'm ready.
Starting with this one. We're basically going to have 3 different conversations. So here's the spark for the first conversation. Here we go. Ready?
I'm scared.
For my recovering Christians, what's something you do or think way more freely now that you're less religious than you were before? I'll go first. Cussing. I've been cussing since I was in elementary school. Don't tell my mom. But I used to always have like a little bit of guilt, like, I know the Lord don't want me to cuss like this. Then I got delivered from associating sin with stigma and started associating it with harm and realized that when I cuss in the right context, I ain't harming nobody. Shit. I be letting these damn cuss words go. What y'all got?
All right. So that's the first one. What do you think about that?
What?
What are your thoughts, bro?
Listen, I grew up a cusser.
Okay.
I cussed so much when I was in...
Little cusser Vanessa.
I was a little cusser. I started cussing when I was like in elementary school. And
Okay.
I can't stand... Like when you watch shows now, we watch shows and I see like children cussing, like it annoys the crap out of me. Like why are they talking like that? Like who's teaching them? Who's giving them... But it's... Like with anything, with sin, it's the heart of the matter, right? Like why do you need to speak this way? Like even when I started getting out of like, okay, I was in high school and I was still cussing like a sailor, but like I was like, man, you know what, this is like ignorant. You know, talking like that is stupid. So like even as a non-Christian at the time, like I was thinking, why? Like why?
What is the purpose of this? Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because it's become such a big part of culture.
Yeah, everything,
so
every
like,
movie, every show.
All the youth kids, like all the kids in middle school and high school, even elementary school, like, you see viral clips now of like kids in elementary school like cussing out their teachers.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, if I ever did that, like I would first of all get beat the crap out of, right? Like my mom would not have taken that.
Yeah.
But also, like, I just wouldn't have done that.
What did he say? Got delivered from the stigma of sin?
Yeah. So he said once I got delivered from the stigma of basically sin, as long as sin isn't harming anything, like sin equals harm. You see what I'm saying? So like if he does something in the context and it doesn't harm anybody, then it's not sin. It's basically how he's justifying it.
Okay, what do you think about that?
No, I think it's stupid. Like it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Okay.
Like if you run out into the wilderness and you blaspheme, right? Like that's still blaspheming God, right? Even though it doesn't hurt anybody physically, right?
Define sin.
Or if you lie, like sin is anything that keeps you from God or anything that sets you apart from God.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's not about harm.
Right. It's not anything that harms somebody else that sets you apart from God.
Right.
Yeah. Because you could say a little white lie, and while that isn't technically harming someone else, it still destroys part of your soul and takes you away from God because he doesn't want you to do that, right? He's a God of truth, right? And
what about Rahab?
Well, that's a different circumstance. But in the general sense,
it's the heart of the matter.
This is God's law.
Landed.
Right. It is always the heart. But again, he's saying the heart comes down to not hurting someone.
Yeah.
And the truth is that like you have to look at the full context of everything, right?
Yeah.
And as we always do on this channel, like we want to go back to scripture, right? So here are 3 verses that I kind of picked out that are talking about this, okay? So first let's jump to Ephesians 5:2, okay? says this. It says, let there be no filthiness, nor foolish
Are you
talk,
gonna show it?
nor cruel joking. No, not in this one.
Okay.
Let there be no filthiness or foolish talk, nor crude joking, which are out of place, but instead let there be thanksgiving. So he's saying, like, don't say these when they're out of place. He's saying these are out of place, right?
Yeah.
And he's saying, don't let this happen.
Yeah.
Now, is this a one-time occurrence? No. Let's continue on. Ephesians 4:30. He says the same thing. Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as is good for building up and fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear, or might give grace to those who hear. So again, he's kind of repeating this. This is both in Ephesians, and we've got one more from Colossians here in a second. But there's a bunch of these verses where it talks about not having these moments, and these might not fit your fancy. Maybe this isn't as direct as you want it. So let's go to Colossians, and we'll read here. In Colossians 3:5, it says this, but now you must put them all away: anger, wrath, malice, slander, and obscene talk from your mouth.
That's 3:8. Yeah.
Yeah, 3:8. And so, like, if we look at this, like, this is very clear to me, right? Mm-hmm. Like, this is something that we should not be doing as followers of Christ. Mm-hmm. And yet it's become so commonplace to just use these words all the time. Mm-hmm. But I think the bigger factor for me, besides everything else, is it makes us look more like the world. You know?
Yeah.
This is such a popular, normalized, regular thing to do in the world, right? Mm-hmm. I go on TikTok. I cannot watch 2 or 3 TikToks without there being an F-bomb, right? I can't, because it's normalized within culture.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it would be totally normal for a 16-year-old to walk up to a 13-year-old, and both of them are just
how the heck
swearing, right? Like everything out of their mouths, right? Like, it's just everything's going to be spewing out of their mouths.
Yeah.
And this is such a big problem to me. But I don't know. Like,
I agree.
But I see a couple of different things here too, because from my perspective, like, we've talked about this before, but like, I grew up from the perspective of, like, first of all, I've swore probably less than 10 times in my life, right? Because for me, it has never been a habit. It has always been something that I've stayed away from, and it's always been something that has been frowned upon in my household, right? But I grew up around people like my brother, like my friends, like, you know, people that were outside of Christianity that all dealt with this and all kind of dove into swearing and using these words and everything, right? Mm-hmm. But for me, like, it was never even a temptation, you know? But it became such a hindrance to my relationships, because if someone did swear, I would shut down immediately, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, I could never talk to someone that was outside of the faith, or someone that didn't have a clean mouth, right? And so for me, like, I think there's 2 extremes here, right? Of like embracing it fully and being like, whatever, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody, go ahead. And then like avoid it at all costs. Don't let it be a part of your life. Like, that's a very extreme as well, you know? What are your thoughts?
I was going to say, playing devil's advocate, what if you used Ephesians, what is that, 4:29? Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as is good.
Yeah.
To go back to the TikTok.
Yeah.
For building up as fits the occasion.
Yeah.
So somebody that's like that person in that TikTok could probably use that verse to justify his thinking.
In what way? Explain that to me.
Only such is good for building up.
No, only such as is good. So he's saying, don't use this, use good language instead. You understand? No. So this verse says, let no corrupting talk...
English is my second language.
Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths. That's done, right?
Well, there's a comma.
Yes, but only such as is good. So don't use this, use what is good. You see what I'm saying?
As fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear.
Right. He's not saying use the corrupting talk.
I'm not saying the guy is right. I'm just saying, like, what if, like, somebody can try to twist the
Yeah, of course, they can twist any scripture, but I'm reading it as it is, right? Mm-hmm. Which is, like, he's not saying use the corrupting talk to be good. He wouldn't say that. That doesn't make any sense, right?
That's not what I'm saying. He's saying, the guy was saying...
as long as it doesn't hurt anybody.
As long as it doesn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
So, like, Okay. Never mind. Moving on.
I'm confused by what you mean. Okay. But overall, I think swearing has become such a big part of culture that it makes us look more like the world, right?
Agreed.
And so I think we should avoid anything that makes us look like the world.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
We're on the same page.
Which is why Paul talks about, too, like, even the braiding of hair or wearing certain, like, jewelry and stuff like that for women. Mm-hmm. Like, this was not because braiding hair is bad. It's not because mixing fabrics is bad, right? But it's because of it's what the world did, right? These were pagan traditions.
Mixing fabrics is in Leviticus.
Right. But I'm saying things like that. Yeah. I'm not necessarily saying that exact thing.
Yeah.
But, like, for example, Paul talks about these pagan, like, people that are part of the Greek culture, right? And he's saying, like, they go to these temples and they do all these things.
Right.
You should not look like them. Don't, like, if I'm going to walk around looking like a Satan worshiper.
Or, like, eating meat, for example. He's like, don't eat meat that's
sacrificed to idols.
But if you're strong enough and you understand, then you can.
Yes, because everything is permitted, but not everything is wise. Not everything is good, right? And so, yeah, definitely. I think Paul talks about that a lot, and I think our main focus should be, is this worldly, or is this something that, God would want us to stay away from, Or is it something that we should embrace? And it is godly, right? And he even said in the TikTok, right? He's like, don't tell my mom, right? like he's joking. I get that.
But like, even with anybody that's worldly, like, why do you feel conviction? Why do you feel shame? Like, why do you feel these certain... Like, you don't want people to know. I'll tell some people, but not everybody. This thing that I'm doing that is clearly bad, but I'm justifying it. It's good, but I'm not going to tell them. Like, so why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sin is sin, right? Yeah. And it's like, if I eat a chocolate cake, I can justify to myself that it's not hurting myself, but it is, right? And that is
one slice of chocolate cake.
Well, I'm saying in a perpetuity for me personally, right? Okay. Like, I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying, like, for me, there are things that are sin for me that wouldn't be for other people, too. And it's like, even though it wouldn't hurt them, it wouldn't hurt me, like, it's still a sin for me to do that, right? And Paul talks about that, too.
Yeah.
Because if you feel you're conscious, if you feel the Holy Spirit, right, tugging at your heart on that, it's still sin for you. And I think it's important for us to focus on that, too.
Yeah.
All right. You ready to move on?
Let's move on.
Next thing. All right. Split the Red Sea again.
I don't have to split.
You don't have to move. I'll move. All right. So this one is a little bit longer, but it's really interesting. So, yeah, we'll just go with that. Here we go.
Hey, apparently, I did a magic trick. I resigned from being the pastor at my church at a meeting that I didn't even attend. Some of y'all have been asking why I haven't been making as much content lately, and the reason for that is because, quite frankly, life has been extremely stressful. And a big part of that stress has been the issues that I've been facing here at the church that I pastor in Oklahoma. When I was hired on, I was assured that they wanted to leave the SBC and become fully affirming of our siblings in the LGBTQIA+ community. So I began inviting people and encouraging my friends inside that community to come because I thought they were safe. And over a couple of months, the church doubled in size. And
okay, let's pause here and we'll have a mini conversation, and then we'll let it continue and we'll have a bigger conversation. You might get triggered by this.
I'm triggered.
I don't see anything wrong with what he said so far in the act of what the church has done, which is, listen, let me tell you, he's inviting people from the LGBTQ, whatever, alphabet plus community, right? Mm-hmm. He's inviting them in to be part of the church, right? Yeah. And the church doubled in size, and like they were coming and they wanted to be a part of it, right? Okay. I approve of that part, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So what do you see so far? Other than the fully affirming part, I obviously disagree with that.
That's the part that threw me off. That's not what it. Churches should be hospitals for the sick, right? Like,
sure,
for sinful people who need Jesus. Like, that's what Jesus wanted, right?
Yeah, Mark 2:17.
But he told the woman who committed adultery, "Go and sin no more." Yes. Mm-hmm. He told, like, tax collectors, like, there was a specific story where it's like, go, what? Maybe I'm mixing this up. Somebody. Okay, it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna, because I don't want to say it wrong.
Yes, there are many points in the Bible where Jesus specifically brings them to the next place.
Right.
Because yes, we want to be fully inviting to people.
Because
right?
And people try to use that. Jesus ate with tax collectors and sinners.
Yeah.
Right. But he wasn't like embracing their sin.
Right.
They were changing. Right? They were turning around. They were repenting.
Absolutely.
Right. So,
and if they did stay there, he wouldn't have hung out with them for very long.
Right. Right. Yeah. Even with the Pharisees, why didn't he stick around with, there was some Pharisees that came to him and would hang out with him, right? But the Pharisees were so opposed to changing their ways,
absolutely,
the Sabbath, how people were getting upset at him for healing on the Sabbath. Are you not seeing? It's not about that. I'm healing someone. You're gonna tell me that it's better to go pick up your lamb or what out of the ditch, but you can't heal someone. You know,
that's when he's healing the man with the withered hand. Mm-hmm. He talks about how would you not save your sheep if it were lost on the Sabbath? Right. Son of Man is Lord over the Sabbath, all that stuff. Yeah, I agree so far, but I think it's a half and half. He's wrong about the fully affirming part, but he's correct about inviting them and wanting them to be a part of the service.
And then the SBC thing threw me off too, because SBC stands for
Southern Baptist Convention,
right? Not fully affirming.
Correct.
So he was they didn't leave it. So
so they had promised him that they were going to leave the SBC and that they were going to be fully affirming of LGBTQ community, right? Anyway, you ready? Continuing on?
No, I have more to say.
Okay, go ahead.
I forgot now. Go ahead.
You ready? All right, let's continue on.
And people were being supportive and getting involved. But as we began taking steps
that I feel like with things like this, it's look at me. Look at how self-righteous I am.
Right,
look at how
much of a white knight I am.
Exactly. That's what it reminded me of. Oh, they're not going to leave, so watch me be the hero. So it's still pharisaical in a way.
Yeah.
Look at how self-righteous I am.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and he's kind of pleading to the TikTok crowd as well, the progressive church sort of idea it's mainstream now, right, in Christianity. And he's saying look at these idiots, look what they're doing, how dare they? And you'll see more as the story kind of plays out here.
Okay.
So
yeah.
And getting involved. But as we began taking steps allowing queer people to lead worship or to preach or teach Sunday school, you could tell things were getting tense and uncomfortable. But nobody said a word. Then recently in a sermon, I said that our church should not be celebrating the overturning of Roe v. Wade, that we should be providing resources and support to expectant mothers who have now been thrust into extremely difficult situations. One of the leaders of this church who was sitting on the front row got so angry at this, he slammed his Bible in his briefcase, slammed the briefcase closed, threw the briefcase to the side, and then turned so he could physically not look at me, and then proceeded to skip church for several weeks. So later when I approached him and I said, I've been missing you. Where have you been? He was like, oh, I was just, working around the house. No big deal. And refused to confront the problem. So seeing that things were starting to go downhill fast, I called a business meeting for this Sunday during our regularly scheduled worship time. I wanted everybody to be able to talk about the issues, get everything on the table. And I put 2 items on the agenda. Number 1, to have a vote to leave the SBC. Number 2, to have a vote to change our bylaws to be entirely affirming. But that meeting won't ever happen, because on Thursday, I was sent a screenshot from the church's Facebook page, which I had been blocked from, that said the meeting had been moved to Saturday afternoon. And out of that meeting today, I was told that they are staying in the SBC, and they accepted my resignation effective immediately. And then they decided to announce it to the world, accompanied with this really great white Jesus meme. You want to know why people are leaving the church in droves, why pastors are sprinting out of ministry and dealing with crippling depression? Right. Because of churches like this one. So tomorrow as they gather for worship, I hope they have the Sunday they deserve.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Why are people leaving in droves? Because people. Okay, let me be nice.
Okay, let's start from the top. So he is a progressive Christian,
clearly,
right, who is a pastor in Oklahoma, part of a SBC, Southern Baptist Convention Church.
Why are you doing this to me?
Right?
This feels like torture.
All right, so he's part of that church. He's the pastor at that church, right? And he wants to be queer affirming, right? So he wants to invite all of these. He wants
to be everything affirming.
Right. He wants to have all the LGBTQ, AI plus community come in and be a part of their service, right? So through that, the church members were like, maybe they didn't understand what queer affirming meant when they agreed to it in the first place, or maybe he misunderstood that they agreed to it or something, right? Because they're obviously not on the same page on that. And so as he starts to involve them more, like he's inviting them to church, which is a great thing, right? We shouldn't invite and we should have a relationship with. The biggest problem that I have with this is the part where he has them leading worship and where he has them speaking from the pulpit on Sunday mornings, right? Like, how could you teach something that you're not living out, right? And so this is like a really, really big issue for me in terms of that.
There's so many thoughts from that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, man, it goes to, like, from what you specifically just currently said, I'm trying to silo myself into these
you're good.
topics. Good. I agree. Those people shouldn't be in leadership. But then I start thinking about mega church pastors or, like, people who start out super young, idiotic, not fully mature in their faith.
Sure.
They shouldn't be the leaders either. Because you see people like that. I
would say you would need to see the fruit first. But yes, I would agree. They're definitely more likely not to be.
I'm talking about just immature Christians, right? And then there's Christians who, because we're all faulty, we all have sin. And so, like, we all mess up.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they shouldn't be in leadership. You get what I'm saying? Do you get, like,
yeah.
So, but
not a lifestyle of living in sin. Correct. Right.
Where
there's a difference.
You slip up once in a while, and it's like,
right.
But obviously, it's okay for them to be in leadership if they're not if they're looking to not do the same things over and over.
Yeah, and if they're living in accountability and they're not like I'm not running off on my own and just like whatever I want to do, I'm going to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, as long as I have friends that I'm leaning on and I'm walking through and they know what's going on and it's like, hey, you messed up, let's walk through this. What are you going to do about it? Blah, blah, blah. Like,
right.
You have to have accountability
They're
and have
living
love
a life
and grace
of,
and mercy.
Of repentance, of trying to be accountable and all that. Right.
It doesn't mean there's not consequences. It just means that you're living within that there.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I feel like there's a bigger conversation that needs to be had within the church, because I do feel like there's a lot of mega church pastors or people who get, like, famous really fast.
Sure.
That were put in leadership too soon. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I think we're seeing that all over social media too.
Right, and that's why we're getting this progressive Christianity, because people aren't being discipled. Like, to me, I'm a tech person. I'm in IT. And I've done web development and everything, right? So, like, for me, everything comes down to what's the root cause.
Right.
Right? So I'm always trying to figure out what's the root cause to why are we at this stage where people like this guy, and I don't want to be offensive to him, like, he just needs discipling. He needs correction, but he needs to be open to that correction. Right. And that's what I feel like a lot of the progressive church is like, you're an idiot. You just don't know. I know the true truth.
How dare you say that? Why would you diminish this person's worth and their truth?
Right.
Yeah, for sure. I think, man, it's really a hard situation. Like, it's not just him that's wrong either. And we'll talk about it in a second. The church is also wrong for a lot of things that they did here.
Yeah, because there's the extremes, like you said. Yeah. Like, there's these extremes, like, the way that guy acted was completely immature.
Right. If that's we're also only getting one side.
Right.
So it's like maybe he was like you know?
Yeah.
He like puts it away, and the guy's like, oh, he punched someone, and then he threw it across the sanctuary. Like, who knows what actually happened? But
But there are extremes, and I can see someone acting that way, because there's the other side that is pharisaical on the other end, like, and too legalistic and too like harsh. Truth, no love. Love, no truth. Those are the two extremes that I see.
Yeah, there would need to be some extremely significant healing to be done in this church, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, if I walk in on a Sunday and someone who is living out a queer life, right, is speaking on that Sunday, I'm having a real hard time listening to anything they say. Because for me, it's like going to a doctor who is extremely overweight, you know? Or like a dietitian who's extremely overweight. Okay. Maybe that's a better representation. But I think in both circumstances, you'd be like, like, oh, I'm not so sure about this situation, bro. Like, you know, it's just like, you don't get healthier from someone who is dealing with the same problem that you are, the same sickness that you are, right? Mm-hmm. Like, unless they've conquered it, unless they've overcome it, right? And that's not to say that someone that struggles with homosexuality or anything like that, like, couldn't be a follower of Christ. I think that's definitely possible, but not someone who lives in that lifestyle. Uh-huh. You know what I'm saying? Someone who has that leaning. Uh-huh. Of course, there's going to be people like that. I have a leaning towards lust and selfishness and pride and all of that. And so for me, like, that's what I really, really struggle with. Right, and some people are going to lean towards that in a homosexual sense as well, right? But I think also the church could have acted better here too. Yeah. I think the church could have had a way healthier meeting, but maybe it's the culture in which the church runs as well. Maybe they don't have a strong elder board. Maybe the pastor is like the one that's over absolutely everything, so they felt like they needed to do this in order to get him out. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a lot of different things that could be happening here, but I don't think they handled it well either. I mean, we just went through a church leaving, right? Mm-hmm. And like that was it was obviously mutual. It was
awesome,
very great,
loving,
right? Like, everybody loved on us. Everybody was like super supportive for us, and it was a completely different situation, right? But like, that is the way that you should leave, right? And
not that we're perfect. It's not a thing.
No, but God blessed us through that situation, right? Because I think we followed the right ways, and we're doing what God asked us to do.
I'm saying that for them.
Right. But none of them were following what God wanted them to do, right? Yeah. Like, not the elders, not him. Like, nobody was following, because otherwise this would have come up a long time ago before he was even hired. Like, everything, right? Yeah. Like, it would have been a completely different situation. For sure. So.
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to say. Something about selfishness, about just looking at self, right? Yeah. Like, throughout all of this, it's always a selfish thing, you know?
Yeah. And it's like, you want so badly to be inclusive because you hear the story of Jesus and you think love, 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 love.
Right.
And while it is that, we forget about all the verses that Jesus is literally saying, like,
truth,
like,
truth.
Look at what you're doing.
Yeah.
This is horrible.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah. Right?
And there's a ton of verses. Like, we think about the feeding of the 5,000. When he's speaking at the feeding of the 5,000, he's saying, like, these people are horrible. You're worse than them. Mm-hmm. Like, it's really intense what he's talking about there.
Yeah.
And so, like, we forget about that kind of stuff because we just think of Jesus as this super gentle, like, ultra loving, like, to a fault. Mm-hmm. And that's not how Jesus was. Mm-hmm. Like, yes, he loved. Obviously he loved. Obviously he was gentle. But in his gentleness was meekness, right? Where he had that strength, but it was under control, right? And so it's just a completely different way of looking at it. And we forget about that a lot of times, but... Yeah. Anything else about Pastor from Oklahoma?
No.
But again, I think it goes back to the world, right? Like, they want so badly to look like the world and to accept the world because they think, oh, well, we need to accept everybody how they are, right? Which, no, we don't need to accept everybody as they are. We need to bring people in as they are. And then... they need to see Christ, and when they see Christ, they'll have no excuse but to change or to walk away.
The woman at the well. There's just so many examples.
100%, yeah, 100%.
People change. It's not about you staying the same. I think I'm remembering something else. Like, that like people living in any sort of sin, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's not about hating on a specific sect of people, right?
Yeah.
It's not about that. It's you're loving your sin more than you love God. And that's what it is.
Right.
You need, this is part of me. This is part of me. I need to affirm. I need to do so many things to because this is who I am.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm a prideful, arrogant, angry person.
Right. Yay.
Right.
Let's have a parade.
Right. If you don't.
Yeah.
You know?
I identify as the manifestation of anger. And if you don't affirm what I am, then I'm going to have an issue with it.
Yeah.
And we all do that to an extent, right? Like, we all kind of give ourselves these identities, but God has said, no, like, this is who you are. Mm-hmm. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Mm-hmm. You are mine. You are to act this way. Yeah. And this is what I'm calling you to do, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's scary. Sometimes it's not comfortable. Yeah. But it's always better, right?
Yeah. We, like I said, like, you just have to love Jesus more than you love all this other stuff.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the last thing I want to talk about is kind of weird. So there's this trend.
I'm gonna get mad again.
I don't know. It's this trend that I've been seeing on TikTok. So TikTok has like regular posts like these, right, which are edited, and then you kind of post them up and people can watch them and stuff, right? Uh-huh. There's like other sections that will pop up that are like live streams, right? So it's just like a live stream where people are like doing stuff and people will come in and they'll like give you money and stuff and tip you and like watch you, right?
Okay. And
so there's like a bunch of different like niches that this happens in, but one really big one that I've seen for whatever reason is like this. So let's watch.
Okay, let's go ahead and do some dates. We'll do some medical and then we'll get to the heart of why she's here. Okay, darling? Okay, thank you everyone for holding your comments and allowing Trisha to come through in the comment section. I really appreciate that.
So this is a medium. So she is speaking to a dead relative of Trisha in the comments.
Thank you. Okay, so these dates can be connected to anyone in the family. She might want to be highlighting birthdays, anniversaries, possible departing days or months. She could also be highlighting months out of this year that might have been really significant to you, okay? So just keep an open mind. And go ahead and feel free to write down all the information that comes through.
And you can see at the top there, those are all donations to her. So she's getting gifts from different people that are like watching this and being like, oh, thank you for your help, blah, 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 like going through it. So right now she's about to like write down like random dates and stuff where she's gonna like be like, oh, like October, like is there anything significant in October for you? Like, you know, like this could be anything. Like
some things right away might resonate and you can make a connection. Some things don't. It takes a little time after a reading's been done, but later they make the connection. Okay. All right. So let's see. She wants to highlight April. I have the 14th. That can be the 14th of any month, okay? She also wants to highlight the 23rd of any month, okay?
What?
And October.
Really strange stuff, right? We'll fast forward through this.
Yeah, because this is weird.
So this is the next one. Very similar, but here's a different.
Casey Taurus. Is she my soulmate? Let's have a look.
Basically.
Or what's it going to be? It's a you decide. You decide that. I hope that helps.
So people are asking questions and they're gifting to her to get her to answer the questions here to help make decisions. A lot of new age, a lot of mysticism and woo-woo.
Next, Faye Dravel. Thank you for your lovely hand heart gift. You were here earlier, weren't you? I'm going to read you out again. Thank you for your question.
Goodbye, my friend. You got it. You can make it work.
This has been another thing that I've seen a lot of is tarot card reading and stuff like this.
You can make it work if you're in control. You can make it work. You like.
Anyway, so there's a bunch of stuff. So she goes on to say, like, she doesn't really know what she's doing. She just got these cards and she's just playing around, right? Another one.
Once the room fills up, I'll be doing free questions with the tarot.
Again, another tarot card reader, and then another one here.
It could be a Virgo that I'm talking to, honestly. Come through for Five of Swords energy for Earth. Yeah, we got the Death card. We got Scorpio, Ace of Pentacles. Somebody tried to kill you for some money, basically. It's not for every earth sign or anybody with earth in their chart, but somebody tried to take you out for some money. Okay. Yep, look at that. Seven of Swords. Yep. Some of y'all have a gift of abundance that's about to be
so now you
coming towards you. Hearing somebody try to take it, but guess what?
Yeah.
But guess what? You were being protected. But guess what? You were being protected. 7-7. You were being spiritual. You were being divinely protected.
I want to finish this one.
Somebody straight to try to steal your money, and you were being protected. They tried to kill you for your money. Like somebody actually put some death shit. I'm hearing death spells, but somebody tried to do that to you. Okay. Or
okay. So there's a lot of witchcraft trying to get into the divine. A lot of woo-woo. What do you think about that?
I'm annoyed by it as well.
Yeah. And again, this is not something that I'm seeking out. Like, this is literally overwhelming the page, right? And so, like, I didn't even have to try at all hard to see these at all. So, like, there's a ton of these.
So it's coming up for Christian viewers?
I don't know. I don't really look at TikTok that much, so I don't know. But when I've been on it, like, this is definitely a ton of what shows up. Mm-hmm. And if I go to the live page and I browse specifically, like, through live stuff, then, like, this is, like, a ton of it. So it's really, like, I don't know. It's crazy to me that this would be so mainstream.
I'm going to explain
go ahead.
the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah, go ahead.
People are seeking truth.
Yeah.
And they're seeking, what's it called when you want to belong? Like, you want to be
belonging.
part of something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, like, that's what people are wanting. Because I've been there, not to this deep extent. I wasn't never, like, deep into New Age.
Right.
But I was starting to go that way, right?
So this could have been you?
That could have been me. But I don't know. So people, sense of belonging, of self-worth, of worth, of fulfillment.
Destiny.
Right. So, like, that's what people are desiring, but they're looking for it all in the wrong places. You know?
Well, yeah, I agree 100%. And this has been all time, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I just did a big video on our main channel talking about Quintus, right? Mm-hmm. And in doing that, I did a lot of research into, like, Greek and Roman gods and what that looks like, right? And Nero and everything that he was a part of. And, like, they all jump into that so much. Mm-hmm. Like, think about Greek mythology, how big it is, how big it was, right? Like the Parthenon and like all of these amazing temples to Athena and Aphrodite and Zeus and all of those people, right? Like, this was a big deal for them.
So people want this, they know that there's something bigger than them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They want to find the why.
Yeah.
But Christianity holds up a mirror and shows you that you're wrong.
Right.
That we're sinful, that we need to change.
Right.
Where everybody else is like, think of, like, Hinduism, Kabbalah, like, all these things. It's a you-centered religion.
Yes.
Right?
You're achieving nirvana. You're becoming God. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a lot of things like that. Yes. Yeah.
Where Christianity, you're looking elsewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
you're looking to glorify the divine and to lift him up, you know, to bless him. Right. And for us, it means that we don't become God, but we are gods. Like we are gods. We are gods with an apostrophe. Like we belong to him.
Woo! You scared me, bro.
No, like
we belong to God.
We belong to
possessive
God.
S.
Yes, a possessive S. Yeah. we belong to him, right? And so, like in that, we take solace because when we surrender, it means that he has everything covered, right? And we don't have to worry about our failures and our horribleness, our brokenness, because he covers all of that. So, like, we don't achieve nirvana. We just allow God to live through us in the way that he wants to, right?
Yeah. I wish I could help people. Like in one video. No, that's the thing. Because this is so close to home, because this is what people are falling for. People are falling for conforming. People are falling for little what's the word? Compromise.
Yes. Yeah.
Little compromises here and there.
Yeah. That bring you to here.
Like David didn't go out and kill someone.
Right.
It was
right.
him staying home from war.
Yeah.
When he should have been out with the other kings, looking at women that he shouldn't have been looking at, having sex with someone he shouldn't have been having sex with.
Right.
Like,
and then killing
his best friend.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like, it's those steps. Like,
yep.
Like even Solomon in all his splendor, right? Yep. Like everything that he did, he was just trying to find the answer, right? Yeah. Like, because the wisdom got to him, right?
Yep.
And that's what we're in. We're in a false intellectual world right now, where we have so much information at our fingertips that we're looking in all the wrong places.
Yeah.
That we're trying to find answers within us, that we're trying to find answers that other people are saying, right?
Yeah, you're trying to find answers in a sea of answers where none of those answers are correct.
Correct.
And it's like the only truth, and this sounds so bigoted. Like it sounds so stupid to the world that there's one truth.
There is
and
one
that
truth.
Jesus is the one way, the truth, and the life.
There's no way every truth can be true.
Right.
Then there's no truth.
But
if true is true to you and true to me, then my truth is wrong to you.
Right.
Which means it's not true to begin with.
Right. There is no reality. Right. And so that's what the world has gone to, because they look for truth and they see so many different options that they can't choose. Right. And when they look at Jesus, they just see him as another option instead of the truth. Right. And it's like, man, these people are hurting so much.
Yeah.
And it's like, I wish.
That's why it tugs at me so hard. Yeah. You wish what?
I wish that we could help them quickly. Like I could just be like, boom.
Yes,
like,
exactly. That's why I'm trying to find the right answer to help everybody in the world.
I wish I just had a reel of like what Jesus has done in my life, so I could show them like, feel how I feel.
Oh, like a movie reel, not like a
Instagram
like a
movie
reel.
like a movie reel. But like, I wish I could give them a pill and be like, feel how I feel. Feel how I felt when I gave up this sin, or when I confessed this thing, or when I surrendered to God, and it was like the best feeling I've ever had in my life. Like, I wish you could just feel what I felt in that moment.
Right.
Because there's no way you would turn back.
Yeah.
There's just no way. Because what you're feeling right now is depression, anxiety, anxiousness, anxiety, depression and anxiety, suicidal thoughts, right? You're dealing with this sexual addiction that everybody in the world is dealing with right now. Like, there are so many things.
But there's the other side, right? Where it's emotionalism, or like you want all these feel good things. You get high to escape. You get drunk to escape. You watch porn or do these bad things to try to escape, and it feels good in the moment.
Right.
But it's not the answer. It's never the answer.
Right. And that goes to everything, right? Like we've talked about before, like you struggle with anger. And so for you, like, it's the same thing. Like you're being impatient, right? And so that, I think, is really one of your big triggers to the anger, right? And when that comes, you have a really hard time controlling it.
Can you stop now?
But God has given you a lot of ability to control that, right? And as you read more scripture, as you're closer to God, I can tell when you're more in control of it, right? A lot of times. Sometimes it's hard, but but yeah, this is crazy to me, dude. Like, one, logically, how could you fall into any of this? That doesn't make any sense to me. Two, like just as a person that lives in America and is like normal, like this is like super woo-woo, like weird to me. Like, I don't know how there's this many people.
This is normal, baby.
I guess. Maybe, it is. I don't know. Maybe I just didn't grow up around it. We see people
in the Christian church following horoscopes, talking about
enneagrams, yeah, all that stuff.
Enneagrams, or energy, or manifesting things.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I can't hear certain words because I'm triggered by them, but you can manifest things not in a weird woo-woo way.
No, things manifest.
Right.
But it's not like you're like,
what's the other word? Exactly. What's the other word that I get super triggered with?
Energy.
Energy is another one.
Yeah. You get really triggered by manifestation. You get really triggered by prosperity. You get really triggered by energy. There's just a lot of things that you've had bad experiences with.
Because
that even though they're not bad words.
Right.
Because we do have energy. There's an energy that I'm conveying to the camera, right? It's just my energy level. It's how I am. If I have a lower energy level, people will be less interested in this video. If I have a higher energy level, people will engage more with this video.
But it's not the vibe you're giving me. I'm not saying
that.
It's like...
But it's my energy level. It's how hyped I am. It's how excited I am.
Let's move on,
you're so triggered by it, you can't even talk about energy, bro. Nope. Anyway, I was just looking through, but there's literally like 400, 500 or more people on all these streams put together. And so live at that moment, there's that many people that are following them. And these people have tens of thousands of likes and followers and people that are gifting stuff, and they have a lot of influence in this realm.
There. I keep looking at myself.
I don't know, man. It's just like the Bible talks about this kind of stuff, and there is a demonic presence that's behind all of it.
That's the scary part. That's the part that, like, these people, they're talking to spirits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You may be speaking to a demon, or you're making it up. One of the two.
I think most of the time they're making it up. But but for those that are real, I mean, we see it in the Bible even, right? The woman that could tell the future. Like, she had the ability to tell the future.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Or like
a demon gave her that ability. Think about how crazy that is for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, there was someone on earth who had the ability to say what the future was going to be.
You talking about the little girl that they demon possessed?
Yeah, they brought her around and used her to make money, right? Yeah. But then they cured the demon out of her, right? And then they're super mad, right, about it. But like, that is crazy. And then we've also seen how ghosts appeared, right?
Ghosts?
Yeah.
Are you talking about Saul going to the...
to the medium.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at that location, at that time, that was an actual ghost that appeared. It wasn't a demon. It was the spirit of the person.
The spirit of the person was talking. It didn't appear.
I thought it did.
No.
I can't remember.
He was talking to Samuel?
Yeah, Samuel. I thought Samuel's spirit appeared.
No, he was talking to...
Okay. I don't remember. I'll look at it again in a second.
One of us is wrong.
I think he does appear, but we'll talk about it another time. But yes, the Bible also warns, like, be careful when you're like, don't try to talk to spirits of your family members that have passed, because you'll be talking to a demon, right? Mm-hmm. Like, these are things that we get warned about. Mm-hmm. And so it's like crazy to me that people just walk into this.
What do you think about hauntings?
Well, I think it's just demonic activity. Like, there are things that happen. Like I talked about in my demon video a couple weeks ago, like, when we're breaking down demons, like what they are and what they're about, like, they are the embodiment of bringing the world back into the chaos that it began, right? They want to bring darkness. They want to bring chaos. They want everything that God has built and everything that Christians have built to be destroyed, so that there won't be a wholeness anymore, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, when we look at demons, that is their main purpose. That's why we saw, like, the Nephilim, they were all about war and stuff like that. Like, that's when we see the demons and how they're interacting with the world. Like, they want to cause chaos, and like the people that they inhabited were like these crazy people who do crazy things. And
because I don't think it says it in the Bible what Nephilim were, but people think
they're the offspring of the sons of God and humans.
I don't think that's in the Bible.
It is absolutely in the Bible. Yes, it is.
All right, show me.
We'll talk about these things later. We'll talk about it later because I don't want to sit here for 5 minutes digging through scripture.
Okay, you can keep talking.
No, because you're not going to listen to me. We'll talk about it later. We'll get back to it. You guys remind us in the comments. We'll talk about it again in a bit. But yes, there are, like, that is a whole thing for sure. And if anybody's Catholic that's listening, they have a whole more things about it for sure. But speaking in terms of just demons, like, that is terrifying to me that people would walk into this and just do this. So, yeah, I mean, man, it makes me so uncomfortable. It makes me so angry that, like, any kid could just walk into this. Like, the
leading of astray.
Yeah, any 8-year-old could just, like, walk into this on TikTok and then, like, this is what they're about now, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that to me is absolutely terrifying.
But doesn't it say, like, those who lead astray, isn't it better for you to have a millstone tied around your neck? Or is that a different context?
No. I mean, it is. Anybody that would lead one of these away, like any of these children astray, it would be better for them to have a millstone tied around their neck than,
thrown into the water.
And thrown into the water, right. Yeah. And that is definitely the case. But I'm just saying, like, it's terrifying for me.
It's scary for them.
Yeah.
It's terrifying for the kids, but it's also terrifying for them and their souls.
Yes. Yeah. I would agree. 100% I would agree. And how do these, like, I just pray that, like, these people can find Christ.
Yeah.
And undo some of that harm that they've done. But, man, it's got to be hard living your life after you've done this, too. Like, you've lived a life of being a medium and, like, bringing people to these spirits and, like, doing all this stuff. And it's like,
I mean, I follow someone who's lived that life and done this stuff, had books published. And, and now you see, like, it's a regret. She's obviously, like, she's a new person now in Christ. And she's leading people to Christ now and trying to help people not fall into this stuff and fall into these traps. And yeah.
And again, I'll say this to end off. Not all of TikTok is this way. There are some really strong Christians who do some really cool stuff on TikTok. It's few and far between. I think there's a lot more deception and clout chasing and progressive Christianity and over spiritualization that goes on. There's a lot of that, which is, I mean, we could do an episode like this every single day and we would never run out of content. Right. It's just like, this is the reason why on our channels we are so adamant about being as clear as we can about scripture, being as biblically based and not opinion based. Right?
Agreed.
Like, about everything that we talk about.
That's why I wanted to look up scripture for the thing.
I know. We just don't have time right now.
No. I'm not saying that to you. I'm saying that to them.
No, I know.
Hi, friends.
But this is why we are the way that we are, right? Is because we want to be as biblically based. We want to say the words of God, not the words of Brennan and Vanessa. Right. And so, yes, while at times we're going to give our opinions and all of that stuff, and we're using The Chosen as a hook to get people in to talk about scripture and to dive into that, like, well, this is about us. Like, this is the Snipe Life podcast where we can just dive in more. But, like, that's the reason why we're so adamant about it. Right. Because there's a lot of harm that can be done if you don't do that. Even on accident.
Both ways, on any side. Like, there's the over-spiritualization of miracles and healing and prophecy and all that. Like, that's too wrong. Like, like, it's not biblical. You're just chasing this
It's not that miracles aren't biblical. It's not that healing isn't biblical, but there's an over-spiritualization of it.
Right, where they're seeking the miracle more than
than God.
Than God.
Yeah, because they see that as the pinnacle of Christianity. Right. If I speak in tongues, or if I do these miracles, or if I have these gifts.
That's another topic for another podcast.
It is another topic for another podcast. But if I do these things, then that means that I have achieved Christianity, right? And for sure. But then there's the other side of it that is like the first guy that we watched, right? Where he's like, hey, Christians who don't cuss, like, look, I can cuss now. Like, look, I can just disregard all of these passages.
How did it start? For my recovering Christians or something?
Yeah, he says for my recovering Christians that we're dealing with different things, like, and yeah, anyway. But there's millions of videos like this online, and a lot of people who have been led astray, a lot of people who are just confused. And I don't say this to bag on them. I don't say this to attack them because I hate those channels.
Right, exactly.
That's
why I was
like it's one of the most frustrating things.
Compose myself before I reacted because that's not okay. Because they are.
I am sad for them.
Yes.
Like, I'm not trying to attack them. I'm not saying like, oh, go on their page and hate on them. Like, that's not what I want. But I want to bring out the truth. Yeah. You know? And so I just want to be careful about how we do that. But anyway, that's what I want to share with you today.
You just wanted to trigger me.
Anyway, that was a fun one. Let us know how you like this format, how you liked us reacting to stuff. We'll be back in the normal podcast setup next time, but maybe we'll have some clips to react to and all that if you guys like it. So anyway, hope you like this channel. Hey, by the way, this channel has launched now. So we've got 4 videos out to the public. If you guys want to go and get those videos and share them with your friends and let them know about this channel, make sure you're subscribed. That would really, really, really help us out. If you want to really go above and beyond, if you want to go above and beyond and help out, financially with us, you can go to our Patreon and do that. It's a huge help. I mean, it's one of the most stable parts of our income, and you guys are amazing over there. We're almost at 100 patrons now. So it's amazing. We're over 100 supporters altogether with YouTube and stuff. But for Patreon specifically, we're almost at 100, which is awesome. So love you guys so much. You guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.